You think you control your choices, but that's not always true. Every day, people influence you without you even noticing it. And the scariest part is, it feels completely normal. What if I told you your mind is easier to control than you think? Stay with me, because this will change how you see everyone. There's something called subtle manipulation, and it's everywhere. It doesn't look like control. It feels like your own decision. That's why most people never realize it's happening. Manipulators don't force you. They guide you silently, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. First, let's talk about the foot in the door technique. Someone asks for a small favor, something easy to accept. You agree because it feels harmless and simple. Then they slowly increase their demands, step by step. Before you realize it, you're doing much more than expected. This works because your brain wants to stay consistent. Once you say yes, you feel pressure to keep saying yes. It's not logic, it's psychological conditioning, and people use it on you all the time. Friends, coworkers, even strangers can apply this trick. Now here's where it gets even darker. Some people fake kindness just to gain your trust. They act helpful, supportive, and extremely friendly. But it's not genuine, it's a setup. They're building emotional access to control you later. This is called love bombing, and it's powerful. You feel special, valued, and deeply understood. Your guard drops without you realizing it. And that's exactly what they want, because once you trust them, influence becomes effortless. Let's go deeper into something even more subtle. Silence can be used as a manipulation tool. When someone ignores you, your brain starts overthinking. You begin questioning your own actions and words. This creates emotional pressure inside your mind. And guess what happens next? You try harder to please them. You chase their attention without realizing why. That silence wasn't random, it was strategic. It's called emotional withdrawal, and it's extremely effective. Another powerful tactic is making you feel guilty. They twist situations to make you feel responsible. Even when it's clearly not your fault, you start apologizing just to fix the tension. And that gives them control over your emotions. The truth is, manipulation doesn't look evil. It hides behind normal conversations and behaviors. That's why it's so dangerous and hard to detect. Most people are being influenced without any awareness, and they think it's just part of life. But now, you're starting to see the pattern. You're noticing things others completely ignore. And this awareness gives you a powerful advantage, because once you understand the game, you stop playing blindly. And the next part will reveal something even more disturbing. You think manipulation comes from others, but it starts within you. Your own mind can be used against you in powerful ways. And most people never realize they are helping manipulators succeed. The truth is, your brain has built-in weaknesses, and smart people know exactly how to use them. Let's start with something called confirmation bias. Your brain only wants to see what it already believes. You ignore facts that challenge your current opinions, and accept anything that supports your beliefs instantly. This makes you predictable and easy to influence. Manipulators feed you information you already agree with. They make you feel like they understand you deeply. You trust them more without questioning their intentions, and slowly they shape your thinking over time. Without force, without pressure, just subtle direction. Now here's something even more dangerous. It's called gaslighting, and it destroys your confidence. Someone makes you question your own reality. They deny things that clearly happened before, and they act like you're the one who's confused. At first, it feels strange and uncomfortable, but over time, you start doubting yourself. You replay situations again and again in your mind, wondering if you were wrong all along. That's when control begins to take over. Because once you doubt yourself, you rely on them. You look to them for what's real or true, and that gives them full psychological control. This is one of the most toxic manipulation tactics, and it happens more often than you think. Let's talk about another hidden trick. It's called mirroring, and it feels very natural. Someone copies your behavior, tone, or body language. It creates an instant sense of connection. You feel like they are just like you, and your brain loves similarity. You trust people who feel familiar, even if that familiarity is completely fake. This builds trust faster than logic ever could, and that trust becomes a gateway for influence. Now, here's a tactic you've definitely experienced. Someone gives you something, even something small, a compliment, a favor, or unexpected kindness, and suddenly you feel like you owe them. That feeling is not random, it's psychological. It's called the reciprocity principle. Your brain wants to return favors automatically, even when you didn't ask for anything. And manipulators use this to create obligation. They give first so they can take later. The scary part is, all of this feels normal. Nothing seems aggressive or obvious at first. That's why people fall into these traps easily. And by the time they notice, it's too late. Because in the next part, it gets even deeper. You believe your emotions are yours, but they can be controlled. The truth is, emotions are the easiest way to manipulate someone. Logic can resist, but emotions react instantly without thinking. And manipulators know exactly which emotions to trigger. Once they control your feelings, they control your decisions. Let's start with fear, the strongest emotional trigger. When you feel fear, your brain stops thinking clearly. You focus only on avoiding danger or discomfort. This makes you act fast without questioning anything. And that's when influence becomes incredibly easy. Some people create fake urgency to control you. They say things like, act now or last chance. Your brain feels pressure and skips logical thinking. You make quick decisions just to relieve the tension. And later, you realize you were rushed into it. Now let's talk about another powerful emotion. Validation, the need to feel accepted and valued. Everyone wants to feel important in some way. And manipulators use this desire against you. They give approval only when it benefits them. They praise you at the right moments. Then suddenly withdraw that attention without warning. This creates confusion and emotional dependency. You start chasing their approval again and again, without realizing you're being controlled emotionally. Another dangerous tactic is creating insecurity. They subtly point out your flaws or weaknesses, not directly, but in a casual, indirect way. It makes you question your own worth and lowers your confidence over time. When your confidence drops, control becomes easier. You seek validation from the same person hurting you. That's the trap most people don't notice. The problem and solution become the same person, and escaping that cycle becomes extremely difficult. Now here's something even more subtle. Emotional overload can also be used as manipulation. Too much information, too many feelings at once. Your brain becomes overwhelmed and confused. And in confusion, you become easier to guide. They might talk fast, change topics quickly, or pressure you. You lose track of what's actually happening and start agreeing just to end the situation. That's not agreement, that's mental exhaustion. And it's a very effective control method. The truth is, emotions are powerful but predictable. Fear, validation, insecurity, and pressure can all be triggered. And once triggered, your behavior can be influenced. Most people never question their emotional reactions. And that's exactly why manipulation works so well. But now, you're becoming aware of these patterns. You're starting to see what others completely miss, and that awareness gives you control back. Because in the next part, you'll learn how to defend yourself. And that's where everything changes. Now that you see the patterns, it's time to protect yourself. Awareness is powerful, but action is what keeps you safe. Because knowing manipulation means nothing if you still fall for it. The goal is not fear. The goal is control over yourself. And that starts with understanding your own mind first. The first rule is simple: slow down your decisions. Manipulation works best when you react quickly without thinking, so pause before you say yes or no. Give yourself time to process what's really happening. That small pause can break most manipulation tactics instantly. Next, start questioning everything, especially emotional pressure. Ask yourself, why do I feel rushed right now? Who benefits from this decision I'm about to make? Is this really my choice, or am I being pushed? These questions bring clarity back to your mind. Another powerful defense is setting clear boundaries. Learn to say no without feeling guilty or afraid. You are not responsible for other people's reactions, and you don't owe anyone unlimited access to your time. Boundaries are not rude, they are protection. Now let's talk about emotional awareness. Pay attention to sudden changes in how you feel. If you feel pressured, confused, or drained, stop immediately. Those emotions are warning signals, not weaknesses. Your mind is telling you something isn't right. Distance is another powerful tool most people ignore. You don't have to respond instantly to anyone. Take space when something feels off or uncomfortable. Manipulators hate distance because it breaks their control. The more space you take, the clearer you think. Let's go deeper into something even more important. Stop seeking constant validation from others. The less approval you need, the harder you are to control. Confidence blocks manipulation before it even starts. Because secure people are not easy targets. Another key defense is observing patterns, not words. Anyone can say the right thing in the moment, but behavior over time reveals the truth. Watch actions, consistency, and hidden intentions. That's where manipulation becomes visible. Now here's something most people overlook. You don't need to confront every manipulator. Sometimes, the smartest move is silent awareness. You see the game, but you don't react emotionally. That removes their power completely. The truth is, you can't control others' actions, but you can always control your response. And that's where real power comes from. Not dominance, not control, but self-awareness. That's what keeps you mentally strong. You're no longer reacting blindly like before. You're thinking, observing, and choosing consciously. And that changes everything in your life. Because in the final part, there's one truth left, and it might be the most uncomfortable one yet. You've learned how others manipulate, but here's the truth. You're not just a victim, you've done it too. Maybe not intentionally, but the patterns exist in everyone, because manipulation is part of human behavior. And accepting that is where real awareness begins. Think about the times you wanted attention badly. You may have acted differently just to get it. Changed your tone, your behavior, even your personality, not fake, but adjusted for a desired response. That's where influence starts quietly, or when you stayed silent to make someone notice you, hoping they would come back and chase your attention. That silence wasn't random, it had a purpose. Even small actions can carry hidden intentions, and that's how subtle manipulation works. Sometimes, you gave extra kindness expecting something back, not directly asking, but quietly hoping for a return. That's the same principle used by manipulators, just in a softer, more natural form. And most people never question it. The truth is uncomfortable, but important to accept. Humans are wired to influence each other constantly. It's part of communication, relationships, and survival. But intention is what separates healthy from toxic behavior. Awareness turns manipulation into understanding. There's a difference between influence and control. Influence respects boundaries and choice. Control removes freedom and creates dependence. And that line is where everything changes. Most people don't even realize when it's crossed. Now you see both sides of human behavior. The one that influences and the one that gets influenced. And that awareness gives you a rare advantage, because you can choose how you act moving forward. Not blindly, but consciously. The goal is not to manipulate others better. The goal is to understand and protect your mind, and build stronger, healthier interactions. Because real power is not controlling people, it's controlling yourself in every situation. Most people will never reach this level of awareness. They'll continue reacting without questioning anything, repeating patterns they don't even understand. But you've stepped outside that cycle now, and that changes how you see the world forever. You notice behaviors, patterns, and hidden intentions. You pause before reacting emotionally. You think before trusting blindly, and that makes you harder to control, which is something manipulators hate the most. But remember this one final truth. Awareness is useless if you don't apply it daily. Knowledge without action changes nothing. So use what you've learned wisely, because now you see what others don't.